Hello, my name is Nathan Alvarado, and this is the psychological effects of video games on male individuals. An initial thought bubble. Are video games truly harmful? The current stance of video games. Many people consider the video game world a waste of time, another form of entertainment, an inconvenience to anybody who spends too much time on it, and a medium that potentially harms cognition. It's particularly hard to avoid the topic as the age of online social media, the internet, and a number of video game platforms are accessible to millions. There are currently 2.5 billion people in the world who play video games, and the question of addiction and the supposed dangers of video games are becoming more prevalent. The moral panic theory. The moral panic theory is important to understand because it represents the ideological stance that society has on kids who spend a considerable amount of time playing video games. The theory states that a certain group of people, in this case people who play video games, become a threat to society's values and their interests. This applies to the topic because it magnifies the idea that society as a whole already accepts the idea that kids and adults who spend time on the controller are a threat to society, and the players themselves are conscious of this. Personal perspective. My brother had a PlayStation and an original Xbox, and my cousin had a PS2 and PS3. Uh, I found myself spending most of my after school time on these consoles. There was always problems going around in the house as a kid, and I felt extremely overwhelmed and most of the time lonely. Video games were my way of escaping into a world that brought me joy and self satisfaction. As a result of relying too much on these games to help me cope, I found myself to become very more antisocial, non-talkative, and isolated myself from conversation every chance that I had. Video games were also stimulating, helped me understand my place, and was a place to release genuine stress. Significant findings. Most findings I found was that video games has no effect on creativity of a child. It has no effect on their motivation and engagement levels. There is a change in detection abilities. There are higher amounts of impulsivity exhibited from boys, and the level of addiction is based on a certain amount of time spent playing. Do video games cause aggressive behaviors? An experiment conducted in Iowa State University attempted to find the effects of reward and punishment on aggressive behavior. Participants played one of three similar race car games. One rewarded violence, one punished violence, and another wasn't violent. The participants played the game on these three platforms, and the systolic blood pressure was evaluated in order to determine aggressive behavior. The systolic blood pressure is basically the blood pressure that is pumped towards the heart muscles in time of aggression. The findings concluded that people who were rewarded running over pedestrians displayed higher aggressive behaviors and continued to exhibit those behaviors after getting rewarded. The participants who were punished also exhibited these behaviors but were less from the ones who were rewarded. The results determined that participants who were rewarded playing violent games increased hostile emotion and aggressive thinking, while punished individuals displayed hostile emotion with no hostile thinking. What do the significant findings mean? The findings debunk a few video game misconceptions. Prove that spending too much time on the controller means that people are more likely to become addicted to the game, and that aggressive behavior results from the type of game that is played and whether or not they are rewarded for displaying violence. To be discreet, video games can contain both benefits and detriments. The best way to control the negative effects is by monitoring the type of content, restricting playtime, restricting the number of platforms, and that they can interact with. My creative artifact. It includes a figure who looks like me, who's playing video games and has two sides of his current thoughts. One side involves his idea of a stimulating world that helps him feel better about himself and gives him all the reason to keep playing these games. The other side pictures the way that he perceives society to be treating him. He sees that video games are thought to be a world of harm that doesn't help anybody, but continues to play them as there is no other way available that can help him cope with personal problems. Concluding thought. Are video games truly harmful?